Welcome everybody to our 12 o'clock panel, the Great Debate. This is the second. You may remember last year we had the first one where we interviewed both DMS providers and operators. By big demand, we have just operators today, and we're going to give them quite a lot of airtime because they've got a lot to share with you. So the session, as you will see, was called Adapt or Die, the next 5 years in taxi and private hire. That title is deliberate because whoever you are in the industry, and we're focusing on operators today, you are seeing changes faster than ever. So many newcomers, artificial intelligence, automation, electric vehicles, data and analytics, ride-hailing apps, changing customer expectations and demanding driver expectations. So the next 5 years are really likely to shape this industry more dramatically than ever. But there does come opportunity. And while it sounds like this is doom and gloom, actually the guys we've got up here today are so visionary and have already started implementing changes. I'd just like to say that last night Renee and I spoke to several operators and we asked them, do you think that is realistic, adapt or die in the next 5 years? And we were actually quite surprised at the responses we got. Perhaps you'd like to share with us, Renee, what they said.
There is a real positivity, actually, about no, it may not die a fast death over the next 5 years, but it will definitely slowly evolve over the next 5, if not 10 years. 10 years, yes, absolutely, but there has to be a real positive change and a real fast acceleration of change over the next 18 months to really kickstart some of the initiatives that are actually going to help you adapt as an operator. So it was actually really refreshing to hear some positive angles of the industry and how companies and operators are actually already addressing those challenges. And not 5 years, but definitely there was a consensus of around 10 years that we've got ultimately to really make a difference and make a change to our organisations.
And also the fact that we need to start making those changes now. If we don't, we'll get left behind. So panel introductions, you want to know who we've got. You probably recognise most of them. I think they're all quite well-known faces in the industry. But I'll just ask them, I'll start this end with Peter, to introduce who you are, your company, and in one sentence, what you believe is the single biggest challenge. So I can start with you, Peter, if you could just introduce yourself to the audience.
Lovely. So my name's Peter. I'm from Your Local Car Group based on the Surrey-Hants borders, and also the host of a multi-fleet south. So that's a group of independent companies, all working from one technology platform, sharing work, sharing drivers, and sharing resource. And probably the most challenging thing you're after?
Yeah.
I think probably it's the operators is where the challenge lies. Okay, so it's not the autonomous vehicles, it's not the AI, it's the operators. The operators need to change. So without us changing, we're not going to keep up with the industry.
Thank you. Moving on next to Paul.
So I am the Reverend Paul Newbury. So it comes as no surprise that I think the most challenging part of our industry is going to be belief and faith. Not just in the big man, because he is very good, thank you, Paul. Not just in the big man because he doesn't book cabs, but belief and faith in yourselves. Because this is a tricky industry, we are up against it, and if you believe in yourself, if you believe in your teams, your drivers, your staff, and everybody around you, and you have faith in them. And of course, as me and Paul will tell you, a bit of faith in the big man upstairs, you will have huge mega fleets, and don't worry about ride-hail. But yeah, don't believe in yourself, faith in yourself, and that I think is the biggest challenge. Get over that, a few glasses of wine, sorted.
Thanks, Paul. Mark.
Hi there, guys. I'm Mark. I run a taxi company on the wheel. One of our biggest things that we started moving into to adapt into a sort of a new client base and grow my workload has to be the accessible work. It has to be disabilities, has to be hidden disabilities, and extra driver training. I think the biggest challenge we've had is getting drivers onto extra training to use these vehicles and recognising disabilities and being more approachable as drivers and operators to sort of grow that trade into what is needed. With the rise of AV, the human hand is still going to be required for our customers.
Thanks. And moving on to Dave.
Yeah, I'm Dave McIntosh, one of the owners at Leadercab down in Plymouth. It's a mixed fleet of 300 private hire cars and happy cabs. We started implementing AI quite some time ago now, because we see that's the future, that's where the industry is going. And I think what the ladies have said already, we have to adapt very quickly to the changing atmosphere within the industry. And I think AI is the way forward. We've got so many avenues that can help us as operators to move forward with the times, and that's where we're going to go with it.
And you're going to all speak about those topics later. So Renee, did you have a question for the panel?
I do. Yes, before we kick off with the individual segments, I'd like to ask in one sentence, what is the biggest threat to traditional operators over the next 5 years? Who wants to go first?
I'll go for it. So, is it still on here? Still. Probably the biggest threat to the operators, I just think it's ourselves. We've just got to open up, be ready for change, embrace the change, make those calls to your competitors that you think are competitors, but they're not, work with them, and just unite.
I think it's very difficult to say anything else to that. I think that is the key, working together, being a family of operators, because we know the big boys are out there, but all of us together are much bigger. It's very difficult to say anything else, really. That really is the key. Working together. Don't be enemies, be friends.
Mindset.
I think the only thing I can add to that is recognising more customer needs and working more closely with your communities rather than waiting for the work to come to you, going out and introducing yourselves to local communities is on top of what you guys have already said. That's the only thing we've got to do.
Yeah, personally, our team together, we're looking at the increase in our marketing and our presence, more awareness about what we do, how the industry works, letting the public know how it works. A lot of people out there don't actually know how a taxi company operates. No, so they're phoning up to book a taxi, they don't know what the processes are. So we open up the industry to the public, let them know what we do every day. And I think get them involved, because everyone would rather use a local operator than one of the big ride-hailing apps. I'm convinced of that. We see it every day. And I think we've got to convince the public that's the way forward as well. But we've also got to move with the times and look at AI and adapting.
Thanks. You happy with that answer, Renee?
I'm very happy with that answer. 5 stars.
Good start. So now we're going to move on to speaking to these operators individually, and they're going to discuss a little bit about what they do. So I'm going to join and sit down, so it's a bit more like a chat show rather than me leading from up here.
There you go,
So we're going to start with Peter. I've been to visit Peter's operation, and Peter's doing something quite unique, which others are doing as well, and it is the way forward. And you use the theme, knowing the unknown. So tell us a little bit about how you've got out of your comfort zone.
Okay, so for me, it's making the unknown known. Okay, so just things that are uncomfortable, make them comfortable. So make an uncomfortable call that's not easy to your local operator that's 2 miles down the road. Normally, you go, they're rubbish, we're much better than them. But go and have half an hour with them, and you'll walk away from that going, oh, they're not too bad. They're the same as us, But trying to make that initial call is a bit difficult, is challenging, and sometimes uncomfortable.
You said you do one thing once a week. Can you tell everybody what that is?
Well, so a lot of things I do once a week, but church. That's the wife's department. What do we do? Well, it's making that call. So whether it's to a local operator, to a company that might be selling, to just that it's the one call. That's all it is, which is not easy.
And can you tell us how you work together? How is the trust built? And what do the drivers think about it?
Okay, so we run a multi-fleet, and that's a group of independent companies working from one platform. Okay, they're still running and completely in charge of their own destiny, but we're sharing the drivers, we're sharing the work, and we're sharing resources. So if, for example, my company's on the telephone, rather than miss the call, it's failing over to the rest of the group. They're then answering the call as your local car or as whatever company they're answering, booking it on behalf of each other. Our missed calls are basically zero. It annoys me if we get one missed call. So we've got a group of people answering calls, that are there waiting for the next call anyway. Working with the people that we've already got, that we're already paying. So that's reducing our overheads, dramatically increasing the profits, and just saying yes to more customers.
And you've accomplished something that I know a lot of operators want to accomplish. You don't actually have an office per se, do you? You work from home and you work from various satellite sites. Do you want to tell us a little bit how that works?
Yeah, so this day and age, remote working, nice and easy. I've got full visibility of what calls are coming in, if any calls are missed, how long they're on the phone, are they answering the calls, etc. So we all work from home all over the country, and we're insourcing rather than outsourcing, just using the UK providers that we've got rather than outsourcing abroad.
Now, you told me about a little story, a friend of yours last week, that really showed you the need of this industry to collaborate. Could you just very briefly tell the audience what disappointed you?
Was it last Thursday? Lady was in London, good friend of mine, she phoned up, said, I can't get a cab anywhere, can't get an Uber, can't get a ride hail, just can't get it. Can you send a car up to London? Probably about an hour and a half drive from where I am. She just couldn't get back. This was at, I think, 6 o'clock. She eventually got back at 11 o'clock. I mean, I was disappointed we couldn't cover it, we couldn't do it. But as an industry, it's terrible, right? We've got a lady wanted to spend 140 quid on a fare in central London. She can't get a cab. It's crazy. So we need technology providers to help us and work with us working together to deliver a car to that customer. She just wanted to spend money. And I had another one, my sister-in-law text, can you do a cab 11:30 Saturday night? I didn't answer. Because she's 5 miles out of my area, I know if I quote her, she's going to go, you're so expensive, not understanding our side of it. I should be able to just take the job, put it in the system, and someone cover it. It was really disappointing. So it's things like that that frustrate me, that inspire me to work together.
Thank you. Now, what we're going to do, what we don't normally do, is allow you to ask questions and answers to each panellist as we go along to keep it a little bit more lively. So has anybody got any questions they would like to ask at this moment in time?
Can I jump in and ask one? First of all, I was really interested about the satellite offices actually, and how the drivers are responding to that. Is there any base for them? How do you keep that relationship and communication with those drivers, even though you are working within satellite offices?
Okay, so if a driver phones in, their priority sort of operator, so say your local car operator will answer the phone, deal with that query as normal. So the driver's happy, they're confident the operator knows what we're talking about, etc. So it's no different to just phoning a normal office. If they get one of the failovers, so they might get, say, Dick and Don Cars answer, Dick and Don Cars can still see and help that driver see what's going on with all the work, full visibility. There is no reason why that other company can't deal with that driver. It's no different to dealing with your own driver. So it just works.
Thank you very much. Any audience questions for this discussion?
So I've covered it all, I think.
Your relative couldn't get a taxi, but your relative was unable to get a taxi, but you get an Uber anywhere in the country under 9 minutes.
Sorry, she was unable to get a taxi.
But Uber say you can get a taxi anywhere in 9 minutes.
She couldn't. They were turning it down.
So we get blamed for letting customers down, but Uber get away with it. Basically, not Uber providing, they have to get away with it because they're not responsible for they're not accountable for customers because they don't care about the customers as local companies do.
Yeah. So this is where the industry's changed. So the expectation of the customers has changed based on the ride-hail apps doing what they're doing, but they don't necessarily have to combine their sort of advanced bookings like we do. So the expectation of the customer is, I want to hit a button and get a car. If Uber then reject it, they're not bothered. The customer's expectation from the ride hails is so low, if they get a car, they're happy. With an operator, because they may be paying a slight premium, their expectation is so much higher. We just need to deliver each and every time, give the customer what they want, and that's a car at their fingertips.
So if our ride app doesn't fulfill booking, we get paid more requirements too.
Yeah, but the difference is it's in real time for them. So can I have a car, yes or no? Oh, no, I haven't got a car, no. As we have to preempt a problem.
I think that also leads into how operators can stand out, because ride-hailing apps can be relatively faceless, and the customer is just having almost like a technological reaction to that booking, whereas the positives of that is that you do have a human-centric approach as an operator, and that's where the adaptation of bringing in new technologies, new passenger relationship tools, and the marketing to your customer base, you can actually build on that rather than having that faceless approach of ride-hailing. So it kind of has that swings and roundabouts with that. Any other questions from the audience on this topic? No? Fantastic. So we're going to move on now to Mark. And accessibility and customer inclusion are becoming increasingly important commercially, socially and operationally. How are you dealing with that inside your business?
So we kind of looked at it on a completely different kind of schedule. We went back down that route of having fleet vehicles. So many companies are now relying on owner drivers to provide those services. And the biggest thing for me was the accessibility. And by having my own fleet vehicles meant I could push drivers into those and, for want of a better phrase, drag drivers further to go and cover work because they're not paying for that dead mileage. Having the appropriate, suitable vehicles has also been sort of one of my big key points.
And when you say appropriate vehicles, could you just detail that? What would you call an appropriate vehicle for your fleet?
So, we have saloon cars. Our saloon cars are great. They've actually been adapted, so they have handles in them, for example. So, a lot of the elderly customers, they don't want to be going in a big Hackney, they can't get up the steps. They can transfer from a wheelchair maybe. They want to go in what could be considered the standard car rather than going into a big open wheelchair vehicle. So these are saloon cars of handles fitted on the inside for grab handles for easy access and getting out. They have specific seat styles, colouring, and also barrier screens to make sure that they work. And then the wheelchair market, unfortunately, everybody in a wheelchair, these wheelchairs are getting larger. Unfortunately, people are in wheelchairs, they can't exercise, so they're getting heavier. The motors are heavy. So we've gone down the road of rear-loading wheelchair vehicles, which are private hire, and not Hackney, to supplement our Hackney fleet. I mean, I do run a mixed fleet of vehicles, so a lot of my Hackney vehicles are out there. I think by having those sort of two types of vehicles that we can rely on to make our Hackney fleet better and to enable more customers to travel has sort of been our biggest thing. But we are very much along that line of, even if it's a car, it's got to be accessible. If it's a wheelchair vehicle, it's got to be top of the range, it's got to be comfortable, it's got to be new, it's got to be suitable for that client base. And it comes down to driver training. The driver training is another big thing that we concentrate on. Many of you guys with your own fleets will notice that electric wheelchairs, you don't get training on from the council to use these. There's no refresher courses, there's no hidden disability courses, there's no any kind of awareness. Once you've done your badge, that's it, you're trained to use a wheelchair. Well, unfortunately, every vehicle is different, every wheelchair is different, clamps are different, fixings are different. We have to adapt into that market and provide that driver with the training to give the customer the accessibility. I think one of my saddest stories is our first customer. We still have him from day one. We took him to his wife's funeral. He's in a large 1.7 metre long wheelchair. It's about 1.4 metre width. It's a huge wheelchair. Without our transport, without our rear loads, there was nobody in our area who could take this guy to his wife's funeral. And imagine, not being able to go to your own wife's funeral, and it's so sad. We still have them now. We take them to church every single Sunday. And just by the sheer fact of just being reliable, trained drivers, dependable, and a better quality of vehicle, these people are just crying out for this service.
Great, what a lovely story. And in regards to your fleet mix as well, you are really pro-electric vehicles, aren't you? And do you know your rough percentage split of electric and ICE?
So, when it comes down to our saloon fleet, they're all hybrid and electrics. We don't have any diesel cars in our fleet whatsoever, none whatsoever. In fact, I would probably say we're 80% electric on our saloon cars. On our wheelchair vehicles and specialist vehicles, we're probably, unfortunately, about 40% electric, which is predominantly due to the range. There are some great game changers coming through the market at the moment on new electric vehicles, bigger batteries, but this is still a little way off. We still have to adapt into that marketplace. But however, green vehicles are the game changer. They're new, they're modern, it's a more comfortable, quieter vehicle. The customer looks at that vehicle and goes, wow. They're not into an old vehicle which is rattling around and they've got strange knocks and squeaks every time they go round a corner. It's proper bracketing in for wheelchairs. It's proper seating for our customers. I think that's where the game is now, is the vehicle quality.
And could you tell us a little bit about the hub that you have, your charging hub, and the services that you provide?
I'm probably going to make every operator slightly jealous because technically my electric vehicles, I'm not really paying a lot to charge them. 38 pence per kilowatt. We have 1,400 solar panels. We generate more electricity than 4 hospitals would need to run, with multiple charging bays and another 35 being built. With the battery storage alone, and that facility means that we can charge our vehicles in about 20 minutes to 80%, keeping my electric vehicles on the road, and at a considerably reduced cost. If you've got the facilities and you've got that charging capability, then straight away, I mean, I used to have a diesel, when I first started, a diesel minibus. It used to frighten me every time I got a fuel receipt. Thankfully, I got rid of it before the recent increases, but it's the game changer. It drops your costings to run the vehicle. The P&L gains are amazing.
You can tell where my brain was going because I was thinking about the food, and you have a...
We even have so drivers turn up to charge a vehicle. This is great. So we have a cafe, so drivers can turn up at any time, day or night, and charge a vehicle. It's up until 6 o'clock in the evening. There's hot food being served. They can do takeaway deliveries. They can sit there and relax in the evenings. They can go in there. There's Wi-Fi. There's vending machines. There's kettles, microwaves, TV. A pool table, dartboard, everything to keep you going, get you out of that vehicle and just give you a bit of a break. But even better than that, I can actually move my driver straight out of his vehicles on charge. I can put him straight into one of mine, send him back out on the road, so he's got minimal downtime just by using the electric vehicles.
I loved that story last night. They were saying that they actually have a food delivery service within their hub that's providing food deliveries, and their drivers can then actually go from taxi driving to food delivery. So it's a double dual work, so there's no downtime. So that idea of that myth busting of we're going to lose an hour's work while the vehicle's charging, you're actually giving them a secondary earning opportunity. So yeah, really enjoyed
Even with our mechanic bays, they come in for service and I'm like, what badge are you? Oh, you're Sefton. Right, I've got this job. Jump into this vehicle for me. Your wheel plated, wheel badge, go and do this job for me. Let's keep the drivers moving. And costs, yeah, you say a bit, electric vehicles are expensive, but you've got to take into account there's no diesel costs. And if you've got the infrastructure in play, you're actually making a huge difference. You know, you're looking at an average wheelchair vehicle could be, you know, the electric one's about 50,000, but really, in real time, with none of the extra costs, is it actually 50,000? Is it with the customer growth? Is it still 50,000? It's a profit margin ready to be made.
Brilliant. Should we open the floor for questions? Anybody have any questions on the accessible transportation or any electric vehicle questions?
I'm assuming all you need is a roof, right?
No, you don't need a roof either. In actual fairness, I mean, a lot of this technology is slightly new to me, but we use solar fences as well. So you don't need a roof. We have the battery storage, which is your biggest problem, but we can actually we have that funnel through from wind turbines through the smart grid, so we are 100% renewable. We're charging up batteries at night time when the rates are cheap, charging our vehicles via solar during the day. If it's a bad day, they can come off the battery power. It's 100% renewable still. But a solar fence is just as good as a roof. In fact, sometimes it can be better because you get a better angle of where the sun hits your panel.
And just from an operational standpoint, how long did this take for you to have this idea that you're going to go electric, to implement these things, to it now running as a well-oiled or well-electriced organisation? How was that process planning for you?
So I was lucky for where I'm based and the owners of the building and where I get my cars from. You know, I was very lucky in that fact that infrastructure was already there. However, as running as a fleet, and changing that outlook of what kind of vehicles we use. About 2 or 3 months to sort of get drivers behind the different way of working, that different understanding, different commission levels, and changing their mindset. I think the biggest difference was, for me, is drivers are saying, I love doing this wheelchair work. Yeah, it might be a bit, shall we say, extra work, but they're being paid properly to do a proper job, and they turn up to a customer who's smiling and happy to see them. There's a lot more customer satisfaction. I think it was really hard. I think the 3 months was hard to change the driver's mindset into doing this sort of work. But once it was, yeah, I would say about 3 or 4 months was really the sort of initial game changer, where we sort of changed how we were doing things and what sort of services we were offering and how we were going to, my mantra is always enable today's customer and advertise to tomorrow's.
very much. Really informative. Last call for questions.
We don't use any Teslas at all, unfortunately. No. So we generally hit quite a lot on the Asian market cars. Technology is a standard. So what we find with the Teslas, they look great. They just don't have the same capabilities as what we call a good electric taxi.
And what I will just add from discussions we had, it's diversifying, isn't it? Because you're allowing the public in to charge as well. So you've got another income stream. Yeah, so yeah, you're diversifying. So thanks for that. And now we're going to move on to Paul. And Paul, you're going to talk to us about your thoughts on ride hailing and how operators need to address that. So I'll give you the floor, and I will every now and again.
Butt in.
Yep.
Welcome to it all. Okay, I've been in this industry 30 years. I've done pen and paper radio, and many people remember these days as the glory days because they were truly amazing days. The offices were filled with smoke. Well, they were. You know, a spade to a spade. The offices were filled with smoke. The atmosphere was amazing, and we knew everybody. The elephant, of course, in the room is going to be technology. The ride hail brought technology very swiftly to this market. And sadly, we didn't react as quickly as we should. That's not to say we're not now. We are reacting. There's a lot of stuff coming out. AI, solar, and networking, it's all coming out. But, you know, I think to myself in this industry now, as a fleet operator, also as a licensed Hackney driver and as a licensed private hire driver, we can all do this job. Shifting somebody from A to B, it's easy. You stop, you unlock, they get in, you stop, you unlock, they get out. That's easy, that's what everybody's doing every single day, hundreds of times a day. And that's what the ride hail apps are doing. But what can we do that's really different to that? We're not just about that journey. You know, I say to people in my car all the time, it is easy to do the journey, it is difficult to create the experience. The experience is what's key. Whether they're on the phone talking to an operator who says, "Oh, hi, how are you? You know, did you have a good night out last night?" To, you know, the driver turning up, getting out of the car. And I have a big thing. I mean, me and Mark, we've both been in this industry a long time. And when we stood outside the hotel earlier, we watched a car pull up, and a gentleman walked to the car with a suitcase, and the boot opened magically. The passenger door did not, but sadly neither did the driver door. The driver stayed in the vehicle, right? So when we talk about how we can beat these ride hail apps, it's going to be service-led. It's not going to be technology-led. It can't be. Why? Because we're all going to be equal. We're all going to have these amazing apps where customers can book. We're all going to have these amazing telephony services where they can speak to an AI person. That's great, that's wonderful. But we need to be talking to our drivers, and we need to be getting them in. We need to be having a laugh. We need to be, you know, talking to them about this, that, and knowing our drivers, so that then when they turn up to the customers that they know, they are getting out of their cars. They're making that experience, because that experience is important. And how can we generate that? Well, simple, really. The ride hail apps are taking 49% of a driver's earnings. We're probably taking 15 to 20 to 25, you know, something like that. It's less. Experience is how we are going to beat ride hail. Working together, using new technologies, using new vehicles, and just smiling. A smile still is free. It's free, ladies and gentlemen. Use it as much as you can.
Thanks, that was lovely. What do you think is the biggest mistake operators make when they think about competing with ride hail?
I mean, I didn't want to go down this line, but it's size, isn't it? Everybody's scared of something larger than themselves, you know? Everybody is. There's a wonderful story in a wonderful book about a very small chap, and he fought off this rather large chap. The small chap was called David, and the large chap was called Goliath. And Goliath was beaten by David with a slingshot, no less. Now, I'm certainly, before I get sued on this, I am not recommending that anybody pops to a head office of a Ride Hell app with a slingshot. Please do not. There are better ways of doing it. What I'm saying is, they may look bigger than you, but bigger people have further to fall. Don't worry, because between us, together, we are actually bigger as a group than these Ride Hell apps ever will be.
So can you tell us a little bit about what you think about collaboration, operators working with what was in the past, their competition?
Well, now, this is quite interesting. So just like my friend to the left, we opened up our system. We have several firms working as well with us through the One Dispatch system. And they answer the calls. They do very similar things. In fact, probably just the same. But it is competition. You know, years ago, we would down talk the cab firm up the road, and we would say they're absolutely shocking. You know, they're expensive, they're this, that, and the other. But actually, you know, and the correct thing is, and we have lots of operators and people, and I say to them, pass me the job. As long as they're phoning you and they get a car, they'll phone you again. If you say to somebody on the phone, sorry, love, I've got no cars, and they phone ABC taxis and they get a car, the likelihood of them phoning you back is slim, is very slim. You need them to phone your number. And that's why networking and working together is really, really important, because they're going to phone your number. You may not send the car, but you will get them picked up by hook or by crook. Reach out, talk, drink. If you're Muslim, have a cup of coffee. Whatever you're going to drink, talk. That's the important bit. And events like this, which are sadly less populated, it's where you get to meet other operators, yeah? This is where you get to meet people. This is where you make the networking. We're all different, yeah? We're all different people. We have all different beliefs and ways of doing things. But we have one thing in common. We have cars and drivers.
Thank you. Let's open up the floor. Any questions?
You can ask. I love talking.
You don't say. Anybody got any questions they'd like to ask the panel about collaborating with their competition? It looks like you're doing a great job.
What about a raise of hands of those who do collaborate? One, because he collaborates with me very nicely, they're very kind.
Interesting.
Two. Any more? Anybody? Does anybody collaborate? Does anybody reach out and say to somebody else, "Can you cover this job for me?" Oh, 3,
Yep.
4, 5. Okay, that, my friends, is the answer. Reach out.
And I'll just come back to Peter on that, because I was asking Peter how he plans to work with other operators, and was it a contract? Do you set the rules? How does it work?
I think the rules set themselves, to be fair. So I just think working together, you're not going to go chasing after each other's drivers because you're going to upset your new business partner. You're not going to go chasing after the contracts they've got because, again, you're going to ruin that relationship. So there's enough work to go around. Yeah, so you actually save your numbers, really.
So you said it's a gentleman's agreement.
Gentleman's agreement. There's no signed contract. Tech provider we use, you have a contract with them separate, you know, say to our contract, so they can pull out at any point if they're not happy with something. You know, it just works. But ultimately, it's a gentleman's agreement. But you just find out so much more about the other companies. You look at cost savings, you make more. Simple as that.
Right, so we're going to hand the microphones along to the end now, and Renee's going to speak to Dave.
So finally, Dave, you're going to look at operational resilience and what operators need to focus on to remain competitive long term. So we're going to discuss some AI here, which is one of my favourite topics, and autonomous vehicles and the future. So would you like to start?
I mean, going back a bit, collaboration works in some cities, not in others, right? Some people don't want to work with the competition for whatever reason, but it is an option. Right, going back to AI, which we've already implemented within Cab down in Plymouth. I'll look at my script because the two guys that are responsible for getting us going that way are sitting in the audience and I've got to get it right. Right, so bear with me for a second. Right, so we're not talking about taking the human part out of taxiing. We don't want that. That's what the ride-hailing apps are already doing. They're removing the human interaction with the booking process. Not with the driver, but with the booking process. So what we're doing is we're looking at introducing AI for things like customer communication, reporting, complaints handling, driver messages. I mean, stuff that frees you up to deal with the public, you know, so they're getting the human contact that they want. I mean, we've all been in the taxi trade, I expect, for quite a few years. Some of us were in it paper and pen, you know, and a little old lady down the road, that one conversation, one journey she has might be the only contact she's got with someone all week, right? So we don't want the ride-hailing apps taking that away, which is what seems to be happening in the bigger cities at the moment. Smaller cities, tier 3 cities like Plymouth, not so much. Uber are there, they're a presence, but like we mentioned earlier on, we just treat them like another taxi company. Yeah, they're huge, but they're global. When they come to your city, they're just another competitor. And I think that's the way we've got to look at it. So don't take the human fact away from it, but try and use the technology as much as you can. We're quite lucky. We work with AutoCab. You probably remember we were the ones that launched the Uber Local with Uber and AutoCab years ago. Right, fell flat on its arse, unfortunately. Excuse my French. Right. However, right, we got an insight into how Uber works and how the ride-hailing app works, so it was worth it from that perspective. We quickly realised, with the guidance from Alan and Liam, right, the only way to beat them was to equal the technology or actually better it, which is what we're working on now. We're lucky with AutoCab. They've given us access to the back end of the AutoCab system. So we're able now to develop our own things going forward, which is going to make our lives a little bit easier, because anyone who's worked with a dispatch provider, they know that they're very slow on getting the things that you actually want as an individual company, unless they get 80 or 90 people asking for the same thing at the same time. And then they'll spend the investment getting that developed for you. So I think looking forward for us as operators, yes, we've got to compete with the ride-hailing apps. They're not going to go away. Simple as that. We've got to make sure that we are better. I don't know if a few of you were here a few years ago when they had this at the Milton Keynes Proving Ground. There was a guy there that did a presentation all about Uber, a guy called Dr. James Cooper. He was an advisor to the American Senate on transport matters. And he had an hour talk about how you compete with them. You can't take them on head on. They're too big. They just roll into your city, say, right, we're Uber. This is how we're doing it. You've got a problem. Take us to court. Most local authorities, licensed authorities, can't afford to because they can't afford to lose. So they'll let them get on with it. Right? But what he said was you can do things better. Your driver training, your vehicles, your technology. If you can match them, you can compete with them. And I think that's where we've got to be. We've got to be looking at getting the AI to the point where we can use it to our advantage. And I think that's where it's got to go.
And just on that, I don't know if you'd be able to share one particular statistic and one set of data, we were talking about it last night, that you've been able to actually help impact your operational efficiency. Are you okay to share that? No.
Listen, what we've done, we're developing stuff that we're hoping that we can roll out to other operators. That's the idea. We will beta test it on our own system first to make sure it works. And then if we can make sure that it's going to benefit other operators, then anyone who wants to talk to us about it, very happy to share that. We say it needs to be discussed how far we're going to go. But we want to make sure that what we're doing fits and we get it right. I mean, just for example, we used AI the other day, right? First time we'd ever used it to look at patterns of passengers travelling. That's the one.
That's the one. Yeah.
That one?
The patterning. Can you share a little bit about that?
Right,
Is
so
that
what
okay?
we did, yeah, right. Just in words, mate. Just explain it.
Okay, so basically what we did, we tried to identify patterns of the customers, which time of the day they're using, how it's often they're using, where they're going, from where we pick up them, where we drop them, and what we do. Around the drop-off points, we're using Google Places to see exactly have shops, stores, nightlife, whatever is here, and we start putting in categories. So once we know more about the customer, we know exactly when they're going, where they're going, when they're going to use the taxi. So basically our AI, in 48 hours, we have nearly 2,000 predictions that become nearly 468 bookings. So we know exactly in advance that the customer is going to book a taxi. Well, then it's going to come the marketing side, when if you know a customer will ring you 6 times, but it hasn't booked it the 7th time, you send them a promotion code or a text message. You say, yeah, why don't you using a taxi tomorrow when you go to work and take 10% off commission? So whatever, something like that. So yeah, this is how actually we will count. But it's just training. So right now we're just training the AI. That's going to be the future anyway. Thank you so much.
Kind of ask a couple of questions in regards to this. Have there been any patterns that have surprised you that you thought that you were working towards as an operation, and then you've actually been able to really analyse the data and going, oh, hold on a minute, we were almost searching in the wrong place and getting the wrong output? Have you found anything?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, nobody knows the patterns of the customers. If you look at all this fast software, they didn't give you where they're going. They're saying, yes, you have 2,000 bookings, but you don't know where. You have an address, but you don't know. You can't identify a pattern. No dispersed software over there is that clever to giving you that information. You don't know. So you start building everything based on your customer patterns. You take in consideration weather, you take in consideration events, football match, everything. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Is there any questions, as soon as we have somebody that's really into AI here? If you've got any questions, or
Just for that one, that was a 27. That was the first time we'd ever tried it. We got a 27% conversion rate.
And that was on the first week.
First day. 24 hours, only 24 hours. Yeah.
So just one quick question then. With using that to sort of find out your customer basis and their history and travel pattern, does that then sort of it sounds to me like a game changer for the supply and demand issue, because that's the biggest thing that we all face is supply and demand, where to make sure we got vehicles for the next customer. But will the AI, I'm guessing, is going to predict, obviously not exactly, but to a high percentage, where you're going to need 20 cars in this estate, because that's what's, does it sort of work
exactly.
like that?
You know about the Pareto principle, 80-20. So we just want to find out what is the 20% that is bringing 80% income. So right now we analyze exactly around the city, which is the highest rate where we're going to have the booking. So make sure that we have the taxi drivers in there. So obviously it's going to be a long-term game, but we are just planning, for example, if we know that if you predict that we're going to have 100 bookings in that area, we can send a text with the drivers, go there because it's 100 bookings likely to come. We have the heat map, we have everything in there. So, yeah,
Wow, that's a game changer.
on that note as well, surely are you forward thinking in regards to autonomous vehicles and where you can have vehicles parked up and then heat maps can then be utilised for that level of autonomy within your fleet?
Autonomous vehicle, it's a different level, different story, but we are not thinking. No.
Not at all.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the easiest way to say it. Sorry. So we're not looking at investing in EVs at all. We don't see the benefit. We've gone to hybrids, petrol self-charging hybrids, purely and simply because our local authority changed the requirement for emissions to Euro 6. So a lot of drivers, probably got yourself within your fleet, either don't want to take on that level of debt or they can't get the funding. So we took the decision to go out and buy 80 vehicles, self-charging hybrids that the drivers love. Various across the range from Toyota Corolla Estates to Kia Niros, Renault Arcanas, Dacia Joggers, where the drivers like them. So I think, it's the infrastructure. I think the government missed a trick. What they should have done, they should have gone to self-charging hybrids first, see how that works out, then gone to plug-in hybrids, get the infrastructure in place for the EV fleets, and then if that wasn't reducing the emissions enough, then go full EV. I think we're suffering as a country because we just haven't got the infrastructure in any city that I know can cope with that level. If everyone all of a sudden bought an electric vehicle, we've got no chance. So we made a decision to go down the self-charging hybrid route, and we want the AI to help us, to help our drivers, and therefore help our customers. Because if we've got that system that works that we're developing now, then everyone wins, in my opinion.
You've built your own AI system. I thought it was only fair to allow all the other operators to just maybe talk about the technology they use, just in a brief sentence, how they get their data, how they analyse it, etc. So perhaps I could start with you, Peter. What technology do you rely on?
Yeah, so I think I'm kind of on the fence on this really, whether we as operators need to be looking at our own AI side of things, or whether that falls in the department of our technology suppliers. So I don't know, technology suppliers have more data nationally if we allow them to use it, and they can deliver more than we can as individuals, and we need to understand where the AI is going basically. But I mean, we use Cordic, we've got the web reporters that give us these heat maps of postcodes of where the jobs are coming in at what time, that sort of stuff. So it's already kind of there. We probably don't use it as much as we could, but maybe this is where the new AI tools can help and assist. I'm obviously delighted to see, I think, Cordic launched their sort of Wingman AI tool. We need to understand what that will actually do for us, but excited about what it can do, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And Paul, we know it's not a sales opportunity, this, but what technology do you rely on?
Well, I haven't mentioned the name, but as everybody else has, I'm using iCabby, absolutely wonderful. However, you're right, I think in many ways we don't use all the tools that are available to us. And you made a very good point, actually, that unless 80% of the customers are asking for something, it's not going to get created. I'm sort of branching out. I mean, heaven knows I've got far too much to do anyway, but so I'm deving apps and building stuff, and looking at what can be bolted on top of our existing information, and then to make use of that. And we could all do that. We within the suite with our DMS, we've got data suite that can put up all that information. Do people use it? Probably not. There's lots of ways that people can get information. But and again, I think we're old-fashioned in many ways. With lots of visibility in this industry, a lot of times we look at, we've made 23 grand on driver commissions. Then that's wonderful, thanks kind, and that will go down towards a down payment for the jacuzzi, or other types of pools are available. I think you're right. We've got to look at AI of how that's used. I think if we rely on the DMSs and this, that, and the other, we might not get what we want. All of us have unique needs of data and information, and none of us want the same stuff. We all want to know this, or we all want to know that, or we all want to know the other. It's very difficult to ask the DMSs to cater for, all the thousands of different needs that each and every single different customer has. But whatever you do, you're right. I think, we're producing apps and stuff to bolt on and get more information and get our customers better looked after. It is about thinking, okay, they're not doing it, but I want it, so I'm going to make it happen. At the end of the day, your destiny is in your own hands, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't grasp it, you won't get it.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong. Renee and I were talking last night after we spoke to you guys, just downloading your data and putting it into an AI provider and seeing what it summarises. Is that right? Has anybody done that?
I think what it is, I mean, you make a good point about people, individuals. We want different things in different cities. You know what I mean? So the actual iCabby, AutoCAD, whatever system you're using, is going to give you different things. However, we've all got the same data. We've all got the same information, access to the same information, but it's just individual to you. You know what I mean? So what we're developing is something that can be used for individual companies to harvest that data that makes it work better for you. That's what we're trying to do. So we're going to make sure that we get it to the point where we know it works. I mean, the 27% hit on the first day we actually used it proves that something's there. You know what I mean? If we can harvest that and put it around, it just gives us an edge, a better edge to compete with the ride-hailing apps. So that's what we're all trying to do, and it's what we're going to have to do.
And as an operation, do you have a dedicated team, or how much effort as an operation do you have? Do you have one person on this, or two? So two, and is that full time dealing with this data sets? And so 2 full-timers. And I bet you're not cheap either, guys, are you?
One thing that everybody needs to know in this business, from my point of view, one thing that with all of us we need to know is just we need to rely on people need to have just one need, that is pain. So if you manage to sort out the pain, they're going to buy it. That is paid to the operators, paid to the drivers, paid to the customers. AI, that's actually the tool that is going to help you because you analyze. You don't have to rely, but you can analyze. How I can do it, what I can be best. That's it. It's just pain. That's it. If you sort out the pain, everything else is going to buy it. It's working out. So this is the technology, and this is why Uber is using the data. Everything is about data. You know, data to know what people doesn't know. Like, we know exactly that we need a taxi that you don't know you need a taxi. Something like that kind of question.
So to summarise, it's know your data, isn't it? Understand your business. Yeah. And then it's using the tools that are out there to analyse it. So we're coming to a close. I've got a question to ask everyone. Have you got one to ask the panel, Renee, before we finished? You go.
So my question was going to be a bit of practical advice for all the operators out here. What is the one investment that every operator must make within the next 12 months? And this could be a nice, short, succinct answer. Paul?
Good job.
Bear with, succinct. Yes. Invest in your team, invest in your people, invest in your drivers. And remember that when you're at the top, as you might consider yourself, there's only one thing that happens if you put yourself at the top. When a bird poos on you, you get most of it.
I'll probably second that. Is all about the training, the interactions with your public. One thing you said earlier about not removing the human contact. I have a strong rule I've always had in taxis is if all your telephonies are quiet, spend an extra 2 minutes with that Mrs. Jones down the road who's 80 years old. Spend an extra 2 or 3 minutes on the phone call. It's all about driver training, staff training, and increasing customer retention rate.
I think I said it before, so I've got two little things. Make the unknown known, so go out and find it, and make the uncomfortable comfortable. Go and get it.
So stretch yourself. One last word,
I
Dave?
think just going back to what all the panel said, training, make sure your staff are the best they can be. Customer service is going to be everything. You know, so if we can all do that, I think we'll be all right. Yeah, provide a local service to local people. I think we'll be okay.
And I've got a question to round it up. One reason to feel optimistic about the future, bearing in mind figures from the government show that operators have decreased in numbers over the years, but obviously you are all very visionary, very proactive. Why be optimistic about the future?
I think technology growth has been huge. I think embracing some of the technology we use, obviously some of the AI tools we use, from voice, from AI analysis that you guys do, which is wow. I think there's definitely a lot to feel optimistic about because we're now finally working through, I think I see a lot more networking opportunities, working with different fleets. I think the industry is finally getting to that point where we're one big industry rather than little industries. We want to work together, and I think that is actually amazing when you come to these events and you start hearing this sort of stories about people ringing each other. I think that's why we should feel optimistic. We're all going, yeah, let's create something for ourselves, but let's work as a team.
For me, because we've implemented this stuff already, we're starting to see drivers coming back from Uber. Whether they're messing up or whatever they're doing, we're getting drivers returning. So they're seeing the benefit of the work we're doing, they're seeing access to better quality work that pays them quickly. We pay our drivers every day. But I think that gives me some optimism for the future because drivers are still going to need to work. What are they going to do with like 350,000 drivers on a dole?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super optimistic about the future. I'm excited about the changes that can happen. Just embrace everything that comes your way, really. Just see the opportunities, focus on what people are not doing, not what they are doing, focus on what they're not doing.
When I was a little boy, and I'm not going to sing the song. Because it was actually when I was just
succinct.
But my mum told me that I was too stubborn, and she said that it would get you into trouble. When I started my firm with a few cars, everybody said, "Oh, there's big boys out there. You'll never make it. They're all there. They're all doing this. They're all doing that. They're all doing the other." Right? And over the years, my mum, I think, God rest her, she's upstairs, not in the hotel, further up. She said I was too stubborn, but I realised over the years that actually being stubborn is okay. Being determined is okay. and saying, actually, I can. Because lots of us are very, very quick to say, I can't because. I think that if we take anything away, we've got AI, we've got working together. What we actually have, the ethos should be, I can, I will, and I'm about to.
Thank you.
Succinct.
Lovely. So that wraps it up. But you guys would love to talk and network, wouldn't you? And just a reminder that in your badges, you do have an invitation for drinks at 4:30 at the bar to network. So you'd like to see everybody then. And I think we'd like to thank them all for making the time to talk to us.